Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise were once one of the most famous couples on the planet, and the abrupt end of their relationship was just as public as the rest of their romantic saga. As a weird twist of fate, the reason they ultimately split up might be tied to the one person that now links them together forever, their daughter Suri Cruise. And you guys will never believe the crazy story of Katie's passionate crusade to protect her daughter from the sinister clutches of Scientology. When Katie blindsided Tom by filing for divorce in 2012, her core complaint was that she didn't want Suri to be raised in the world of Scientology. She was seeking sole custody of their child. Katie was deliberately making moves very different from Nicole Kidman, who had previously divorced Tom in 2001. Katie knew that in Nicole's divorce, she basically lost custody of the 2 kids she had adopted with Tom. The kids decided to stay with their father after the divorce, but Tom has never said why. That's pretty weird. Anyway, Katie wasn't willing to take the chance that Suri could wind up staying with Tom for undisclosed reasons, especially not with the looming presence of Scientology in the background. In a funny twist, a former Scientologist named Mark Headley, who has since turned on the cult, said that Katie was taking a page out of Scientology's playbook. L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, said, "You always attack, not defend," and Katie was going on the offensive right out of the gate of her separation. This was surprising to anyone who'd been paying attention to Scientology. Katie was way more brazen and aggressive than most people who leave Scientology. Many of the people who were brave enough to leave the cult behind were subjected to harassment and intimidation, as well as being cut off from their family members, which is exactly what Katie was probably afraid of happening, which is why she knew she had to act decisively. But there's another piece of the puzzle that enabled Katie to be so bold in her move against Tom, raising their child as a Scientologist. At the time of their separation, a bunch of Scientologists who had previously helped suppress media coverage of Tom's divorce from Nicole, and who had intimidated mainstream media members away from reporting on Scientology's shady history, had since left the church and were actually now working against it. This definitely helped Katie's situation. Even so, her decision to ask for sole custody of Suri wasn't any small task. It meant going head-to-head with the Church of Scientology and their world-class legal team. Katie was sending a message that she wasn't afraid and wouldn't be intimidated. Katie also needed help for the job, as she knew just who to call. She hired Alan Majewski, a lawyer who specializes in matrimony law and who has a reputation for handling difficult divorces that play out publicly in the media. She also enlisted the aid of Jonathan Wolf, a New Jersey divorce lawyer. By stacking the deck with a stellar legal team and using the element of surprise with her filing for divorce, Katie was able to outmaneuver one of the most litigious and controlling organizations on the planet. Karen D. LeCarrier, who was formerly one of the top executives in Scientology, was able to weigh in on just how difficult this must have been for Katie to pull off, because at the time, she was very much under the constant surveillance of the church. Karen said that she was sure that Katie was being tailed by Scientology, so to be able to gather her legal team and drop this bomb on Tom must have required some extreme planning and careful precision, including using burner phones and laptops to make sure she didn't leave any kind of digital trail. It sounds like a lot of trouble to go through, but Katie had every right to be concerned. Tom's relationship to Scientology is famously deep, and Katie was worried that if she stayed married to Tom, it would only be a matter of time before Suri was inducted into the cult as well. And it sounds like Katie knew that time was coming sooner rather than later. Katie was allegedly positive that Tom was going to send Suri, who was only 6 years old at the time, to the Sea Organization. Sea Org, which is what it's known as in Scientology, is where the cult brainwashes its highest level members. Children as young as 5 are sent there to live without their parents, presumably so that the church can take young minds and make them believe that Scientology is the only way to think for the rest of their lives. Sea Org has been criticized for being similar to a boot camp, and many members who have since left the church have been extremely vocal about how it's like sending your children to the military. Scientology claims that Sea Org acts as a charitable group focused on spreading goodwill with the goal of getting ethics to the planet, and it's no secret that Tom is a big fan of all that. Apparently, prior to Katie's surprise divorce, Tom had been fighting for Suri's imminent indoctrination into Scientology, but sending their 6-year-old child to join Sea Org was the final straw for Katie, and honestly, I don't blame her. Other than the fact that it's super weird to separate a 6-year-old from their parents, Sea Org has a really bizarre detail listed on the official website for Scientology. Members of Sea Org have to sign a billion-year pledge of loyalty to symbolize their commitment to Scientology. Asking a 6-year-old to make a billion-year commitment to a quasi-religion is just wrong for so many reasons, and Katie had first-hand experience with how weird Sea Org was. When she first became a couple with Tom in 2005, she was assigned an assistant named Jessica Rodriguez from Scientology, who had been with Sea Org for over a decade. Only Jessica was more of a chaperone who was really there to be Scientology's eyes and ears in Katie's personal life. That's just creepy. Katie knew that the only way she could have Suri from Sea Org and Scientology's clutches was to file for divorce and seek sole custody, and it's a good thing that she did that. Former Scientologist and actress Leah Remini, who escaped the cult, said that Scientology had weird plans for Suri. Apparently, they still might be waiting until she's older to lure her into the church, and Leah knows just how dangerous and destructive the church can be, which is why she left. Anyway, by making such a bold move against the church by divorcing Tom, Katie may have prevented all this from happening to Suri. Once she did that, Katie was labeled a suppressive person by the Church of Scientology, which is another way of saying she's their enemy. That means that she can't be associated at all with anyone still in the church, which extends to Suri as well. That might explain why you rarely ever see Tom in any pictures with his daughter. With Scientology, you're either all the way in or all the way out, and it seems like Katie's plan is working. Suri's a teenager now, so she's more than capable of making up her own mind about things. Tom still has every right to visit his daughter, even though Katie got full custody, but he had to make a choice between the church and his daughter, and it looks like his loyalties run deeper with Scientology, which is just so sad. But it also only further confirms that Katie made the correct decision. Tom is actively choosing not to have his daughter in his life as long as she's not on board with Scientology, which is awful. He still sends her over $30,000 a month in child support though, according to an Us Weekly source from 2018, so at least he's still a supportive parent in one way. Either way, I'm just glad that Katie got out of there with Suri because she likely saved her from being controlled by Scientology and their dangerous and destructive cult. But what do you guys think about all this? Did Katie make the right choice? Should a 6-year-old ever be separated from their parents? Is Tom a bad dad? Let me know in the comments below.